Hey, today on Hitting Hard with Jon Chuck, we're going to talk some Hawks as we get ready for playoff basketball tomorrow. How good of a coach or how good of a job has Nate McMillan done with the Atlanta Hawks, and what could potentially be his future? Is he on the hot seat if they don't perform well in the playoffs? Plus, we're going to give some early Braves thoughts about where we're at after 5 games and the debacle that happened last night. It's Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into episode number 8. Thanks so much for being a part of the show today. We are asking you, of course, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Sports Atlanta. Go there, hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. You can do anything like that you want. Just hit subscribe, be a part of the community. Leave us some comments as well on the show. Tell us what you think about what we're doing out here so far. So we appreciate everybody being a part of it. As I said, we're going to get into some Hawks basketball talk. But first, want to tell you about my friends over at Prize Picks. That is your daily fantasy made easy over there. Listen, we know so many of you love to play fantasy sports, right? Not just the every week to week thing that the NFL is, but you want to get your fix in on a daily basis, right? So NBA right now, we're about to start the play-in games. You got NBA playoffs, not to mention Major League Baseball that's going on every single day with tons of games that are going on. But listen, your best fantasy option on a daily basis is Prize Picks. And here's what we got going on. It's real simple to use. You go first off to the Apple Store, you go to the your Google Play Store or your App Store, and you download the app. It's safe. You're going to get fast withdrawals once you win. You can make entries in 60 seconds or less, but you literally are going to pick 2 to 5 players in an over-under type of system on different projections and different props. You can win as much as 10 times on any single entry. It's just basically you versus all the projected numbers. So, for instance, they've got all kinds of statistical things that you can bet on. You want to bet on the NBA. You want to bet on points scored. You want to bet on rebounds. You want to bet on steals. You've got all these over-unders that are available to you. And again, it's not just the NBA. They got college basketball. They got college football. We got the NFL. We got Major League Baseball, which is cranked and loaded right now. We've got soccer. So if you're into, MLS right now, you got soccer options. MMA is always going on. All kinds of games and things that you can pick from on your leader for your fantasy sports at Prize Picks. So for a limited time, Prize Picks has this exclusive no-brainer offer for everybody. So here's what we got. I want you to put in NBA in the promo code, and on your first entry, in your Prize Picks entry, if your player scores a single point. So let's say, for instance, you take, Kevin Durant. Do you think he might be able to score a point in an NBA game? Well, let's say you take Kevin Durant and you've got him in the points and you've got, let's say, the over on his points. If your player scores a single point, you're going to get $50. That's what I said. $50 exclusive offer to Locked On fans. You put NBA in the promo code on your first entry. You pick one of your players and they score a single point, and that was one of your categories. Then you're going to get $50 in your account for all of it. You can't beat that. It's as simple and easy as could be. So go to Prize Picks, download it today from the App Store, download it today from Google Play, and start playing daily fantasy sports. All right, so Hawks get ready for play-in round. I don't really consider the play-in round to be the NBA playoffs, but whatever. We can discuss that at another time out there. So Hornets and Hawks coming up tomorrow. It was obviously a very I asked one word to describe the Hawks season, and my word was maddening, because it would be up, down, sideways, this, that, and the other. Some nights you'd look like the best team in the NBA, playing Phoenix, Memphis, and Golden State. Some nights you'd look and say, how did we lose twice to Detroit and to the Houston Rockets on our home floor, right? Maddening season. And there are many reasons. It's COVID, it's this, it's injuries, it's defense, it's this, that, and the other. How much goes at the feet of Nate McMillan? How much did this season reflect what Nate McMillan is as an NBA coach? Now, couple of numbers I want to throw out at you. Now, remember, last year, so when I do some of these comparisons, understand that last year was only a 72-game season. This year was the full 82, but last year was only 72. Okay, so keep that in mind. I don't want to be unfair or anything like that, or anybody says, well, Chuckery, they only played 72. I get that. I understand. Okay. But last year, the Hawks were 27-11 under Nate McMillan. This year, they were 43-39. Now, the Hawks did win 2 more games than they did last year. But again, they played 10 less and they won 2 more games. 524 winning percentage last year versus a 569 winning percentage this year. To put that in perspective within the Eastern Conference. So Philadelphia, if we go year over year win totals, Philadelphia won 2 more games themselves. Brooklyn lost 4 games more than they did the previous year. But again, Kyrie didn't play at home. They didn't have Ben Simmons once they traded for him. Durant missed time. They had a lot of reasons why that happened as well. But if you look at some of the other teams, Milwaukee won 5 more games year over year. The Miami Heat won 13 games year over year. The Celtics won 15 games year over year. The Raptors won 21 games year over year. The Bulls won 15 games year over year. And the Cavs won 22 games year over year. They literally doubled their win total from the previous year. Now, my problem with Nate McMillan has been so often how we hear about defense and this, that, and the other. And you'd have all of the players from the Hawks. You got Trae Young, you got John Collins, you got Clint Capella, Gallinari, Bogey. They go into these press conferences and they're like, well, why don't you guys play better defense? Well, it's effort and this and that and things like that. Okay, doesn't the coach control the minutes? If what you're telling me is that defense is about effort or hustle or want to or will or whatever terminology that you want to use attached to it, isn't Nate McMillan the guy that controls the minutes for everybody? I don't know how good of a job Nate McMillan did. I'm not convinced that he's an upper tier coach in the NBA. Even with the 27-11 record, I think they were also so ready to get past Lloyd Pierce that anything that a coaching change would have been made right before the All-Star break last year would have been a breath of fresh air to this team. But are the Hawks more the 27-11 in the Eastern Conference Finals that we saw last year, or are the Hawks more the 43-39 up, down, sideways, this, that, and the other, and now stuck in a play-in? I think the truth lies somewhere in between about what Nate McMillan is as a head coach for this team. Do I think that they are one of the best teams in the NBA and they play like that, night in, night out? No, I do think the Hawks are very talented, and that's why they ran everybody back, right? They didn't go out and they didn't make any big changes. Now, I think it's going to be different this offseason, but they didn't go out and make any changes. And you heard the general manager say over the course of the year that, oh gosh, maybe it wasn't the right decision to run everybody back. Maybe we should have made some changes, this, that, in the other. But I do think that Nate McMillan hasn't done a great job at times with managing the way that his roster has been. Now, I can't fault him when it's COVID and some of those types of things, but when it comes to defense, and they're still one of the worst defensive teams. And what's funny is when we talk about Trae Young being an all-NBA player, and I've asked a bunch of people, I've had national people on my show, I've had local people on my show, where's Trae Young fit on the all-NBA team? And most guys are, he's going to be probably third team to maybe not even making it. Now, think about this. The guy who's only the second player in the history of the NBA to lead the NBA in points scored and steals. Tiny Archibald is the only other guy that's done that. And he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? The only other guy to ever do that. And Trae, by the way, played the 8th most minutes in the NBA. So unlike Steph, who only played 64 games, unlike Luka, who played 64 games, and unlike, Luka, who had 17 technicals and got 1 taken away and should be suspended and all that kind of stuff, Trae has played the 8th most minutes, played in almost all of the games except for a few games that he missed because of COVID, and still may not be first team or second team NBA, all because they talk about the defense. Now, how does that fall on Trae Young? I don't know. But the idea that Nate McMillan can't get the right combination of guys or can't motivate these guys, that bothers me. That frustrates me as a Hawks fan to hear guys come up on stage saying, well, it's 1-2 and will and this and that. Okay, maybe Nate can't control that, their emotional side, but he can certainly control minutes. He can certainly put guys on the floor that if you want to play, go out there and give me the effort. If you don't, then I'm going to sit you for all of it. I know that's not easy in the NBA, but sometimes that's what you have to do. Now, we'll talk more about this when we get back, and we're going to talk about potential consequences for what the Hawks do or do not do in these play-in, playoffs, whatever you want to call all of this. It's Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.